Welcome to 2024, if a bit belatedly. I wasn't planning on starting off the year with this video, but as soon as the year kicked off, I seem to have caught something that stopped me basically in my tracks. It's gotten me thinking a little bit more deeply about some things that I normally wouldn't make a video out of. Namely, I've been thinking about the elephant in the room of 2024, or should I say the four horsemen of the apocalypse in the room of 2024. Everywhere you go and everyone you speak to is expecting 2024 to be a fairly chaotic and tumultuous year. And whether this is a self-fulfilling prophecy or whether this is just the tides that we are just born to swim in at this point in time, the facts do remain that we are facing some pretty serious headwinds, and there is a few things looming on the horizon that I think we're all concerned about. The first horseman is that one of the looming financial collapse, and I don't think there's anyone who doubts that there is a bill coming due, and we seem pretty primed this year to have to pay the bill. Then there's the horseman of political unrest and divisiveness, and not just in the American elections, but 2024 actually has the highest amount of elections around the world of any given year in the last 200 years. If even a fraction of those elections become unpredictable, we're looking at a sea change in world politics. Then there's also the horsemen of war, as we see escalating tensions around the world and an increasing number of innocent lives being ground into dust. And there doesn't seem to be any slowdown to this, and all signs are pointing to escalation. Lastly, there's the horsemen of human stupidity and hubris. From creating viral chimeras in laboratories around the world to artificial intelligence, it's like world leaders haven't been to the movies in 40 years. So what does all this have to do with your humble luthier and the guitarists and musicians in general? Well, we're already seeing and reading news of the collapse of the used guitar markets and the potential of restructuring of some major brands. But to understand where I'm going with this, you have to understand something about guitars themselves and their history. You see, the guitar has a very rich history in times of political turmoil. Throughout history, the guitar has been the instrument of the underclass. Its affordability, its accessibility, and its unique capacity to cover melodic, rhythmic, and harmonic territory has made it the perfect vehicle for the lower classes and the marginalized to express themselves. From the wandering gypsies with their historical roots in marginalized communities, to the folk traditions of the poor, reflecting the stories of their struggles. It was the instrument of the early labor movements of the 19th and 20th century, and is iconically the instrument of the African American bluesmen in their struggle for civil rights. It was the instrument of the anti-war anthems of the 60s and the defining sound of the sexual revolution. It rocked the working class in the 70s and the 80s, and what other instrument could possibly have expressed the anti-establishment rebelliousness of punk rock? The guitar has always given voice to the voiceless, and I think that's one of the reasons why I've always loved it so much. The guitar has been a big fat middle finger to those forces of oppression and control, and I think that's the spirit we need to channel a little bit right now. But as I look around at guitar culture today, especially on YouTube, much of the discussion centers around gear minutiae. What's the best plugin? Which amp modeler is best? An obsession with technique and reliving some previous golden era of guitar. And while I would never presume to tell anyone that this is wrong or bad, or what they should play, after all, escapism, fun, and nerding out are always necessary, even in the toughest of times, and I don't have any intentions of not enjoying that myself. I think that we have a tradition to honor, a sort of historical calling to rise up to. My best friend Jason Mock, who this company is named after, used to say that musicians were the real shamans of a society, and he was right. And yet we fiddle as Rome burns, and the bodies stack up. There's a culture of safetyism, of playing to the algorithm, and I'm not surprised to see all the recent videos of guitar channels calling it quits on YouTube. I don't have any answers or prescriptions to all of this, but I do know that it inspires in me a desire to do things a little bit differently, to engage a little bit more authentically, and maybe to engage more fully in the world. As a guitar maker, my role is to seek out and support those musicians that are saying something authentic and relevant. And so I think I've thought of a few ways to do that, and you'll hear more about that as the year rolls out. Most of all, I just wanted to provide a little food for thought. No one knows where we'll be at this time next year, but it's probably going to be interesting. Hopefully we're all wrong and it's a year of butterflies and rainbows. But if the shit hits the fan the way so many expect it's going to, I plan to have a good time of it. No reason we can't have a great jam at the end of the world. Anyway, keep your head on the swivel. I'll be back soon enough, and peace out.